Welcome in to I Remember My First Time. Don't be nasty, Jacob. Not that first time.
Damn it.
This is a podcast about cinematic awakenings.
Oh my god, I like the sound of that.
Where we talk about the movies we love with someone who just popped their cherry to that movie.
Fuck yes.
Jacob, are all the movies we do on this podcast going to be good movies?
God, I hope not.
Do we like shitty movies?
We love shitty movies. Sometimes even more than good movies.
Are we critics?
Absolutely not.
But do we love the shit out of movies?
Oh, BJ, we love the fucking shit out of movies.
What cinematic masterpiece is on tap this week?
This week, 2 weeks in a row, we have a movie featured on the 1001 Movies Must See Before You Die. This movie's ranked number 17 on Bravo's 100 Scariest Movie Moments and ranked number 11 in the 25 Scariest Movies of All Time and is on American Film Institute's 2001 list of 400 movies nominated for the top 100 most heart-pounding American movies. Wes Craven's classic 1984's A Nightmare on Elm Street. Introduction to our man, Fred Krueger, as he's called in this movie. He ain't Freddy yet.
Not Freddy yet. Freddy does have fingers, though.
Freddy got fingers.
Once or twice.
Jacob. 1, 2, Fred is coming for you.
3, 4, better lock your door.
I am rugby sweater connoisseur BJ Leica.
Joined as always by me, big-time Razor Glove fan Jacob Eakins. Today we have my childhood friend, longtime partner in crime, junk food connoisseur, one of the most talented bassists to never go anywhere in music because life fucking sucks. So if any successful band out there needs a bassist, hit the coolest single dad up I know. My friend, my brother, a man I watched way too many movies with the first time and showed him many first times. Someone named after a metal god, making him a god himself, Mitchell Ace Droz.
Hey, how's it going? I fucking love weird hats.
We got the whole outfit. So we always do this with first-time guests, but what's your relationship with the cinema? Do you have certain genres, actors, directors?
Oh, man. As far as favorite directors go, I'm pretty basic where it comes to that. Tarantino's always going to be near the top. All of the Nick Frost, Simon Pegg shit is always going to be close to the top as well. You know, Shaun of the Dead's my favorite movie of all time, so I was kind of hoping that this would fit hand in glove with that sort of enjoyment. But
it does not.
It does not.
No.
It does not. I did find myself laughing my ass off a few times, but it was definitely not the comedy horror, which I'd say is probably my favorite genre. But I'm a big, comedy, horror, action, drama. I kind of watch everything. So
Lot like me, just likes movies.
yeah,
Right.
Yep.
What are your least favorite movies?
Oh God, romantic comedies are too fucking predictable.
Okay.
They kind of drive me crazy. And then outside of Breakfast Club and maybe Breakfast at Tiffany's, that whole decade of film could pretty much just go away.
Okay.
Yeah.
My least favorite movies are rom-coms as well and sports movies.
Our last podcast was my birthday episode, so I made him watch a rom-com sports movie.
Which I ended up giving an 8.5.
Which one?
Bull Durham. Kevin Costner, Tim Robbins, and Susan Sarandon.
They're in a love triangle together.
It's fucking incredible.
All right.
I will be
I'll have to check that one out.
I will be rewatching it.
Heard that. That's a left turn I didn't expect, but all right.
So this week we are talking about the 1984 Wes Craven directed A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Written and directed.
Written and directed
Yeah.
by the great Wes Craven.
Yeah.
True.
A film described by Netflix.
Sorry, before you go on, we've had Wes Craven featured in this pod already. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Oh, he did have a cameo. That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah. He was filming Scream 5 and the orangutan was Scream. So this is the second time Wes Craven's been featured on the pod.
So this movie is described by Netflix as wielding bladed gloves and a sharp tongue to match. The spirit of a serial killer torments teens while they sleep in a gruesome plot for revenge.
I hate Netflix sometimes.
That's a horrible description. Sharp tongue. All he goes is. The Rick and Morty version of fucking Freddy was scarier than this. I'll get you, bitch. I mean, come on.
I think he has one witty line. I can't remember it, but I think he's got one witty line.
There's a one-liner, and if there's a one-liner, I know Jake probably knows it.
Nope.
And if not, then that's how good this movie is. So,
Yep, 100%.
there
Yep.
it is.
So this movie, overall, 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb.
That's pretty good on IMDb.
That is really good.
95% on Rotten Tomatoes.
What?
Jesus Christ. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess I can see that because it's one of those movies that if you don't like horror movies, it's not super scary.
If it's like your first horror movie ever, I could see it being terrifying. If it's like you're in your first three, like if you watched the old Amityville Horror and the old Exorcist, and then you followed it up with this, I could see how maybe it would be spooky. But in the context of modern horror and in the context of everything that this would go on to inspire, I just don't find it scary.
And it's even, like you said, like modern horror, like we were talking on the way over here. Before this movie, you had Wes Craven's original Hills Have Eyes. You had The Exorcist. You had The Shining. You had
The original Halloween.
The original Halloween came out before this movie.
Yeah.
There were scarier movies before this movie.
That's true.
And I
Friday the 13th.
never seen a Nightmare on Elm Street movie because I've never seen a Freddy Krueger movie. I've seen bits and pieces of Freddy versus Jason. I thought this was going to be scarier.
I thought so too, to be fair. I laughed more than I was spooked.
Yeah, and I expect to laugh my fair share in horror movies because, like action films, they should never take themselves too seriously.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that rule number one.
Yeah.
Shout out Cabin in the Woods.
That's right. Evil Dead, baby.
Tucker and Dale.
The last one, Metacritic, 75%.
Fuck them.
Which is that's a good score for Metacritic.
Yeah, Metacritic, 75% on Metacritic's incredible. Those are actual critics.
Unfortunately, Jacob, I don't know why I could not find a Roger Ebert review for this movie.
He was around in 84, right? He was
Definitely.
doing movies?
Oh, yeah. I couldn't find a review.
Fuck him.
I don't know if he just didn't do horror or was on vacation this week or what. But no Roger Ebert review.
All right.
Must not have cared.
But I do have somebody who gave a great review of this movie.
Let's hear it.
So this is something from Empire. It was written in 2000 as a big retrospect of the century of movies. And it was by Simon Broad. A Nightmare on Elm Street was a shot in the arm for the fading teen slasher flick. One which Craven would once again rejuvenate with 1996's Scream. True to form, it centers on a group of hormonally charged American high schoolers. Among them, big screen debutante Johnny Depp. What makes Freddy truly terrifying and inspired invention on Craven's part is that he exists not in the real world, but in the shadowy realm of dreams.
Okay. This guy loved this movie.
100% he gave this movie.
Holy shit.
Are you kidding?
5 out of 5 stars, perfect score.
I wish we would have had a Roger Ebert review because I don't think he would have given this movie a thumbs up.
I think Roger would have at the very least had something very interesting to say.
I do too, and I think he still would have given it a 2.5 because there was a lot of cool effects. Wes Craven is clearly a genius, as we know. Unless it's a 3, it's not a thumbs up for Roger Ebert.
Yeah, he's on a 4-star system, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think he would have given it a 2.5.
I disagree with the 4-star system because you essentially can only judge a movie by 8 grades, which he is a great writer, and RogerEbert.com's out there, and pretty much every movie you see might be worth going and checking that site out because he's such a good writer.
Yeah.
Fair.
We've become big Ebert fans on this pod.
Fair.
This movie did great in the box office.
Really?
I'm going to give you a little clue because you guess every time what they do. New Line Cinema was saved from bankruptcy by the success of this film and is jokingly nicknamed the house that Freddy built.
New Line?
Yep.
No shit.
New Line made some good movies.
They had only done one movie before this movie, and it fucking bombed. And like I said, they were in bankruptcy.
There's no way this movie cost a lot of money.
No, this movie in 1983, because it was made in 83, came out in 84, cost $1.1 million at the time to make.
Okay.
Adjusted for inflation is only $3.1 million today.
Nothing for
That's
a movie.
A standard horror budget, super low, so they shoot super high for the box office.
Yep. Opening weekend, it made all of its money back plus some.
Wow.
In 84, it made 1.3 million. So today, 3.7.
Okay.
Wow.
So what do you think the domestic gross was, BJ?
So my go-to answer is around this era is about 10 times what the opening weekend was. So 10 million or 30 million with inflation.
Okay. Do you want to have a go at it? Because you're a big movie guy. I think you could have a good go at this.
I'd go a little higher. I'd go 15 and probably closer to 40, 45 with inflation.
Okay. Opening weekend in 84, it made $26 million. Not opening weekend.
Shitballs.
Throughout a whole theatrical one, $26 million. Adjusted for inflation, that's $73 million.
So I saw that this movie came out in December.
Yeah.
This was not a Halloween.
No.
That's
I love
weird.
how I love how horror movies just don't care.
That is kind of weird.
Horror movie directors just don't care.
Did they release it on Christmas? Because that'd be hilarious.
I don't know when they released it. I don't have that.
I don't know. I know I saw it December, and I was like,
wacky.
that's weird.
Huh.
I'm thinking this is a first weekend of October release.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do know that a few days before the film was to go into general release, the processing lab had the negative informed New Line Cinema that it would be keeping the film because it had not been paid. At the last minute, Robert Shea was able to negotiate a deal.
Michael's dad.
Yep.
That was a bad joke.
It's okay. That's why we have editing.
No, we're keeping that one in because it was funny. That was so bad.
Good shit.
So that was the movie popularity. It fucking killed it. I do think there's a cult following to this movie just based on the IMDb score and the meta reviews and everything.
Absolutely.
Big time.
Yeah.
It's Freddy Krueger.
There's still references in modern shows like Rick and Morty. I mean,
Yeah.
There's references to Freddy all over the place. You have Freddy versus Jason that killed in the 2000s.
Yeah.
I don't know the box office on that one, but I know that a ton of my friends saw it and a ton of people saw it in general.
Oh, Freddy vs. Jason was fucking cool as shit.
Do you know how many Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy Krueger movies were made?
There was like 5.
Oh, okay.
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, they were kind of running right up with the Friday the 13th as far as just continuing to pump out sequels because people kept going to fucking see
Well,
it.
and same with Halloween.
Yep.
And, yeah.
Man, Halloween. Oh, I miss Michael
Halloween
Myers.
is my favorite horror movie franchise kind of thing. Like, I love Michael Myers. I think he's incredible.
You realize how you feel about a movie when you hear Halloween and go, man, I want to watch Halloween right now.
Yep.
But we can go back to that.
Yeah.
It's going to be done at some time during this pod. It's too good not to.
Well, it's too good not to, and we're big fans of Jamie Lee Curtis on this pod.
Oh,
Have you seen Knives Out yet?
No.
Oh, man.
it's on my list.
Her and
We need to bump
she's
that up.
probably in her 60s now?
Yeah, you can bump it up. We both really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And she wears a hot pink suit for most of the movie. A hot pink power suit.
She's married to Don Johnson.
Also,
We're saving that.
we can do this movie with you, too. There's a yoga movie that she's in with John Travolta.
Yes, I've seen it.
You've seen Perfect?
Yeah.
You're doing it with us, goddammit.
You're the one person who's seen Perfect. Is it as bad as it looks?
Oh, it's terrible. But as far as the sexual tension, you can cut it with a fucking butter knife, bud. I'm saying.
So this is a triple version episode. If it hadn't been made clear yet.
It's a triple V.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Busted mine today. At work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Jacob, what did you think of it? What's your review of this movie?
I liked the campiness of it. I liked how dumb it was. I loved all the special effects. That's my favorite thing about horror movies, especially back in the 80s and 90s. They don't really do that now.
Easy not to.
Well, it's too easy not to, but God, when they do it, it's fucking phenomenal. Because I've already brought this up since I've been here. The remake of the Evil Dead movie, that director paid homage to Sam Raimi and did it with no CGI besides a tongue-cutting scene. And it was fucking incredible. He also did a really good job of making it kind of funny, too. I don't want to give the scene away, but I was in the movie theater and this bitch had just shit going on, and she said something, and I started cracking up. And clearly no one in that theater understood horror movies because they all looked at me like I was a maniacal serial killer. And so that's what I loved about this movie, is just all the cool special effects, the genius of Wes Craven, how attractive Johnny Depp was.
Young Johnny Depp's a cutie.
Yeah. But overall, really, I didn't love it. It did, like, I wanted to be more scared.
Liked, not loved.
Yeah, like, not
Okay.
loved.
Mitchell?
I can echo that sentiment. Liked, not loved. You know, I can tell where a lot of movies have been inspired by this. I can tell where a lot of things have been inspired by this. And I would even go so far as to say the horror movie genre that has evolved out of movies like this one have surpassed it. I went in expecting, to be scared. I went in expecting to worry about dreams, things like that, because I dream pretty vividly. So I kind of went in with pretty lofty expectations for one of the best movies ever. And after seeing it, I kind of went, I was supposed to be scared? At what point was I supposed to be scared? Okay, maybe the sequels are scary, but it wasn't a love. It was definitely a like. The special effects were phenomenal, like you said. The things that he did in the time that he did them were really solid. But music is huge for me in movies. And there were a few times where they could have left out a little bit of the synthesizer because it almost made Freddy seem more comical than scary. Because there were times where he would appear in the corner, he would appear in the side of a shot, or he would appear like through a peephole, or he would appear in like these weird areas. And in The Exorcist, when they do that shit, they don't tell you. It's just subliminal. And then you go back and you watch it and you go, oh man, that was really scary because I didn't even realize it was there. And like you get those chills. But in this, there's always that little something to like show you that something's going on.
I can't take an 80s synthesizer serious either.
I can't. And so it's a like, not a love, but it's a damn good movie and I will watch it again. But I can't say I love it.
And I won't watch it again anytime soon.
Yeah, this is not a annual movie watch.
No.
Nah. I have better movies I can watch in October.
Yep. 100%. BJ.
So I'm probably when it comes to horror movies, the least fan of them out of the three people in this room. Mm-hmm. And I can tell Wes Craven is really good. Wes Craven is clearly talented in this movie. He takes a super low budget and makes it really cool. But there's a lot I didn't care for in this movie. I think the kids are great actors.
Honestly, though.
Yeah. The acting from the kids was incredible.
The adults?
Have more lines.
Yeah. Like you said that when we got here. Yeah. Rod should have been more integral in the movie.
Because he was a good actor. But I do.
And I liked his character. Keep going, BJ.
Very Zuko.
So the adults, however, did not lead up to the kids acting. The mom and the dad of Nancy were in a completely different movie than everybody else. I think my biggest problem with the movie, which ironically enough, I think makes this a classic, is they tried to combine the slasher horror with the creepy horror, and it just did not work for me. Give me a slasher horror, give me a creepy horror. When they combined them like this, it didn't really work. I was super confused by what Freddy Krueger was. I didn't understand the rules of Freddy Krueger. I didn't understand the motivation of Freddy Krueger. Yeah. He looks pretty cool. Yeah. The gloves kick ass. The wardrobe's kick ass. Mm-hmm. The makeup's pretty good. But I didn't get that real boogeyman feel from him.
Here's something for you, BJ, and this is going to make it even make less sense, so you're welcome. There are no scenes with Freddy Krueger during the daytime. Although the hall monitor Nancy encounters is wearing Freddy's sweater, has Freddy's finger knives, and has Robert Englund's voice, and is actually Freddy just making the guise of one of Nancy's classmates, this scene does take place during the day. Also, when Marge Thompson gets yanked through the peephole in the doorway at the ending of Freddy's demonic hand, it is also daytime.
I laughed.
Yeah, that was fucking hilarious.
I love
But again, it was daytime. So although full-form Freddy as personified by Robert Englund is not photographed in the daylight in this movie, that is true. Different vestiges and versions of him do appear in daylight. So there's no fucking rules for this guy.
There's none. None.
car.
The car.
Yeah.
Pulling the hat out of the dream. Pulling him out of the dream. There are no rules for this motherfucker.
No rules. Sometimes he kills people normally. First 2 kills, normal kills. The last 2 kills, I don't know what the fuck happens.
Yep.
Weird. Well, I mean, technically last 3 because, I mean, he pulls Glenn through the bed and then he pulls her mom down into hell.
I don't know.
And then they get in a car and they're all fucked. So I have no idea what's going on at that point.
Yeah,
so
it makes
I
no
can
sense.
Definitely follow you there. Yeah, the rules are confusing as hell.
And that leads me to what I didn't like about the movie. Just how it wasn't scary.
I laughed more than I was spooked for sure.
Yeah,
The synthesizer did not help.
Wes Craven went so big with the first kill scene, and it never matched that again.
That was the scariest moment in the whole movie.
That was my biggest
'Cause
mistake of the movie. Was you laid it all out on the table in the first 15 minutes, and I never reached that level of scared again.
Yeah.
I was scared when he was chasing Tina. Was that the first one that died?
Yeah.
When he was chasing her and he was teleporting and
that was messed up.
And her death, terrifying.
Yeah.
You could have made her death Johnny Depp's death.
Oh, it would have been way better.
And then you could have not Johnny Depp, but like have Tina die that way.
True.
And then kill Johnny Depp the way that they killed Tina earlier.
Smart.
I think that could have been better.
Man, and if he got gutted in front of his parents, that would have been like way darker and a little bit more on the nose with the themes that they were going for. So I could see that for sure.
Is that everything you didn't like about the movie?
Yeah, I just wanted to be scared more. That's why I watch horror movies. Like, I watch horror movies to laugh because they're horror movies, but I also want to be scared a little bit.
Yeah.
They're not thrillers. I don't expect to be scared the entire time. I expect some jump scares. I expect to be on the edge of my seat sometimes.
There was not a single jump scare in this entire movie.
No, and the only time I was on the edge of my seat was Tina's death. Because I knew Nancy was going to beat him.
The extremely short rod with the police.
That's not true.
I was on the edge of my seat.
That's not true. The
I wish that was longer.
Well, and the rod with the police scene happens. That scene also happens with the staircase scene. And I was on the edge of my seat with the staircase scene.
I think that was the only jump scare scene too, where Rod grabs her out of the bushes and you're like, oh shit, and then it's Rod.
Yeah.
That was the only like quote jump scare in the whole movie. But even then, they immediately have a conversation. They kind of mellow you back out. So I wish the pacing was a little bit better for that. And like BJ said earlier, I wish that Rod had more interaction with the cops instead of immediately, surrendering and getting taken down and all that. It moved too fast.
It is 90 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a real quick movie to watch.
I just there's a couple things they could have done different with that 90 minutes to make it that much better.
You could add 15 and make the whole movie better.
Yeah.
But they also had a super tiny budget. So, I mean, New Line Cinema's about to go under. And in that context, that kind of makes the movie even better.
Yeah.
There's tons of pressure on the director, the writer, the cast, everybody, because if they don't succeed, that's it.
I think I kind of mentioned what I didn't like in my review. I went a little heavy there.
Which is why I transitioned to what I didn't like. Yeah. And I mean, Mitchell talked about it too. So then that comes to it. Was it a good or a bad movie? And I think we all agree that it was a good movie. Like, we all liked it.
Yeah.
And I think we would probably like it more if we watched it brand new in 1984.
Definitely. Sure, but at the same time, there are horror movies I've seen made before this.
We'll get to our ratings later, and I think our ratings probably would have been maybe a point higher if we saw it in 84. Yeah. Not much higher. We just would have liked it more. And now it's our movie-related talk, which should be easy for this movie.
The great Wes Craven.
The great Wes Craven.
Oh, buddy.
He is great. He's fantastic. The Hills Have Eyes. The Hills Have Eyes 2. The remakes of those movies, awesome. Wes Craven, Sam Raimi, John Carpenter. Those three guys are the reasons that we have horror movies the way we do.
Right.
True.
I really like Scream.
Yeah.
That may or may not be a bold opinion. I don't know. No, but I really like the 1996 movie Scream.
Oh, yeah. Scream's great.
Fantastic. Better than this, I would argue. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not even in your subconscious and things like that, which is a huge topic for me. Craven definitely gets all the credit in the world for that one.
He's clearly a genius. Other than the horror aspect of Wes Craven, just like every horror movie director, his genius is in his special effects.
Well, but it's not just that. It's the mystery, because you have a movie like Scream with a palpable mystery behind what is going on. And the entire time you're being dragged along through this what is going on until you eventually find out what's going on. Whereas with this one, you're wondering what's going on the entire time, and then it's over.
Yeah, I was very disappointed when I found out what was going on.
Yeah.
The parents killing Freddy and that being like the twist, like, shut the fuck up.
But even then, it's like they didn't really cover how he still operates beyond that. Because to me, it seemed like at the end, she goes back to try to save her mom, and that's how she ends up getting got. But at the same time, I'm going, would she have gotten got if she just went to sleep? Would she have gotten got no matter what? Like, what are the rules? Can you explain a little bit more of that? Kind of like how you were talking about earlier, BJ, with the rules of Freddy. I couldn't figure out why she ended up getting gotten at the end and why everybody lost. Yes, it's good to see the villain win because it's something you don't see too often in horror movies. So it's nice to see the bad guy get his day. But at the same time, I wish I had more context for why and how. Whereas in Scream, you have all of the why, all of the how, and you're sitting there going, whoa.
Is it a better movie if we show if the parents killing Freddy was the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and then this is the second one?
Oh, that would be really good, where you have this dude just killing kids left and right, and then the parents have to kill him. And then, like 20 years later, this would be the sequel? Man.
Yeah.
This would be a great Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I wish Wes Craven would have done that.
That would have been good.
He does pull in this movie what I call the Wes Craven special. You aware what that is?
No.
Where you think you know who the protagonist is going to be throughout the whole movie, and 10 minutes into the movie, they're dead.
Okay.
Yep.
That's I don't know if anybody else calls it that. I call it the Wes Craven special.
I didn't know it was called the Wes Craven special.
I don't know if it is not.
I like that, but
that's what we're calling it on this pod. You heard it here. The Wes Craven special, baby.
Bingo.
Anybody else have anything else to say about Wes Craven?
I think it's time to dive deep into this movie. Deep into our first time.
Deep.
At least a finger's worth deep.
A razor finger or a regular finger?
A razor finger, my friend.
A two-knuckler?
Yes.
Or is this a three-knuckler?
It's a three-blader.
Oh! We're going all the way in. Let's fucking get it, boys.
This is where we do our Mount Rushmore scenes.
Yes, it is. So my fourth favorite scene, I'm going to go with the very last scene. The booby trap scene. Nancy getting one over on Freddy. Yeah, I liked it. Probably my favorite part about that scene was her setting him on fire. Because it was the one time Freddy was scared. He was like, oh no, please. Oh God, no, don't do that. And I enjoy when a villain, especially in a horror movie, gets scared for half a second.
Did you laugh when you saw the on fire footprints marching through the house?
I did. Yes,
I laughed.
Oh, yeah.
I love Nancy just being a badass, just straight up fighting them.
As she learned all that in 6 days.
Yeah.
Insomnia is a powerful tool if you use it right.
Yes, I also love that she was able, and like you said, insomnia is a powerful tool when you use it right. She got through that whole fucking book of booby traps, and she fucking set some up.
I mean, we've all seen Fight Club.
Yes.
Yeah.
Insomnia is a pretty kick-ass tool.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Neither would I.
It's a short-term tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming from the guy that suffers from insomnia sometimes.
Sometimes.
Mitchell, your fourth favorite scene?
For my fourth favorite, I got to go with the very end, where we have everybody seeming like everything's cool. You have Nancy trying to, I guess, go back in and get her mom. and she tells Freddy basically that he can get fucked, and she gets her mom out. Her mom's like, yeah, I don't know what happened. I just, I guess I dozed off. Did I scare you last night? And she runs off to go get in the car with her friends, not noticing that she's basically getting in Christine, Stephen King classic, but with Freddie.
Oh, Freddie Mercury as Freddy Krueger.
That would be hilarious.
Yes,
that was
would be
accidental, but that would be
He's just
hilarious.
going around trying to give everybody AIDS.
Oh, God. Oh, God. But where they get in the Freddy Krueger car and everybody dies and her mom gets yanked through the peephole of the door.
Which is, it's funny that she was getting in the Freddy Krueger car after fighting Freddy Krueger all fucking movie.
You think she would notice, but she didn't even pay attention to the stripes on the roof.
Because if anybody's going to notice, it's her. I could believe anybody else didn't notice that.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's noticing that.
When the roof slammed down on the car, it actually slammed down too fast. So the reaction of Freddy pulling the mom into the house was an authentic reaction because it slammed down and actually scared him.
Nice. Okay. Well, that's probably why they kept it for sure. But no, that whole ending scene for me was my fourth favorite because her mom getting yanked through the door, that made me laugh. The bad guy getting his win, the bad guy winning in general is something that I'm a fan of. When the bad guy wins in the horror movie, you always leave the theater or leave the movie session with kind of that uneasy feeling of, ugh. And I like that. As much as I laughed at the strangely bad special effects for how good they were throughout the movie, it still leaves you with that kind of uncomfortable feeling of, man, we really don't know what the rules are for this guy. We really don't know what he can do. And as much as we don't like that we don't know what he's capable of, and we've harped on that, it leaves you with that bad feeling. And then the movie's over and you don't get to resolve that. So it definitely leaves it open-ended for sequels, which there were a ton, and it leaves it open-ended for explanation, which they need. So I think Craven absolutely nailed the ending.
He did the pre-credits or the post-credit scene before the post-credit scene was a thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely nailed that. So that'd be my fourth favorite for sure. The ending.
Jacob, I actually have to agree with you. We have the same fourth favorite scene. You pretty much touched on everything I had to say.
Okay.
It just really good, really fun. I liked how it ended. I'm kind of glad the mom died.
Yeah.
I hate to say that.
She was a real bitch.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
she had to go. Her and her Quaaludes.
Yeah. My third favorite scene is Nancy's second dream in school.
Oh.
The one where you see Freddy and she burns her arm?
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
that fucked me up.
Yeah, because the quote that they start that scene with, I think it's from a Shakespeare play, was about bad dreams.
Yeah.
And so then the dream starts. And that was one thing I really enjoyed about this movie. I forgot to mention this earlier. You don't realize when they're dreaming for the most part. And I enjoyed that about the movie. I mean, you figured it out after about 30 or 40 seconds into the dream.
Sure.
But at first, you're just like, they're not dreaming. I enjoyed that they still do the boiler room because, Mitchell, I think you mentioned this when we talked about it earlier on the phone. And this isn't talked about in the movie with the whole Freddy's rules thing. Like, Freddy has to kill you in the boiler room. And that's not a thing in this movie.
No.
But they try to make it a thing and then just get away from it. But I enjoyed the boiler room in that. I was watching this with Nema, and she was like, how fucking deep does this school go? And I'm like, oh, she's in a dream. Like, the school might have a basement, but beyond that, we're now in a boiler room. It's a dream.
This is not a movie for people with shallow imaginations.
No.
Fact.
I enjoyed Tina becoming a bunch of lizards. That was fucking cool.
That was cool.
And I enjoyed her body being dragged in just the blood. Like, that 500 gallons of blood they really used really well. Mitchell, your third favorite scene?
I mean, after you bring that one up, it's kind of difficult because I was going to say the house chase scene with Freddy after she sets him on fire and all that, the one that you referenced earlier. I'm actually going to agree with you and tie this one in as my third favorite. I'm going to bump that down to honorable mentions because I don't know if y'all have experienced like real bad nightmares, but I have woken up in class yelling at people, So that scene with the Shakespearean references as well really kind of hit home for me in a way that I didn't expect, because I dream pretty vividly. So I expected, like I said earlier, to be more scared in this movie. And that was the one scene where I was uncomfortable, because you could fall asleep anywhere. You could fall asleep on a bus. You could fall asleep in the car. You could fall asleep wherever. And if something's going to come after you, you don't get to choose when that's going to happen. You don't get to choose when the nightmare is going to hit. You just kind of have to roll with it. In that particular scene, when she gets burned in the boiler room and freaks out her entire class, including her teacher, I was like, wow, that was really sick. And they kind of lead you in with the Shakespeare to provide the basically this disillusionment where you're in a comfortable space, and then
your suspension of disbelief.
Suspension of disbelief. That's what I was looking for. Your suspension of disbelief. You're thinking that nothing's going to go sideways, and then it does. And not just bad, but like really bad. Like she gets physically burned from a dream. So, I mean, in that context, yeah, that would definitely be my third favorite for sure.
Because at that moment, she doesn't realize about the sleeping and the dreaming.
Yeah.
Right. She hasn't slept to that point because she's traumatized.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
So she's traumatized. She didn't get much sleep the night before, tossing and turning. She doesn't realize that falling asleep is the issue.
And she didn't even realize she had the burn mark on her arm until she was outside of school.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, that would definitely be number 3 for me, for sure. I would agree with you there.
Cool. BJ.
So one of the staples of this podcast is that we cheat on our favorite scenes.
Yeah. We're very liberal with what is a scene.
So I'm going to cheat here and say every scene with Rod.
Yeah.
Every time Rod is in it, this movie's really good.
That dude's a good actor, man. And he's channeling a lot of Travolta from Grease. I can tell.
Oh, for sure.
100%. But I'm like, man, you watched Grease once and you made it your life. And you know what? High fucking five, man. T-Birds all the way.
He sees it, he's like, that's me. That's me in the future right there. From the Nancy dying to him being chased by the cops to him in prison, they're all really good. And I could have used double the Rod in this movie.
And I love how good he is at fucking at his age. Because when him and Tina were fucking, I'm like, there's no way teenagers are fucking like that.
Because
there's no way.
This is pre-internet porn. So she's not faking it and doing what she wants to.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, you don't know a woman's body enough by then. I just don't think anybody's experienced enough to know really, like, truly what they're doing.
Not at 15.
No. Shut up, Mitchell.
Okay.
You can remember your first time vividly as much as you want to.
It's more about times 2 through 10. The first one, that was really awkward and in an elevator, but it is what it is.
So my second is the midnight capture. I love that she had the pot of coffee hiding under her bed. Just giving fuck all what her mom wants.
Yep.
Like, love that. Just a whole pot of coffee under her bed.
Smart as fuck.
The tongue coming out of the unplugged phone.
That was spooky.
I love the shit out of that. That cracked me up.
Like that.
Are 15-year-olds drinking black coffee?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say.
I think you're drinking black coffee at 15 if you're really trying to stay awake.
Okay.
Because everybody knows there's a sugar crash, and as long as you stay hyped up on caffeine, you can keep it rolling for quite a while.
So I'm a black coffee drinker, but I don't think I was until 21.
Yeah, I wasn't a black coffee drinker until I was an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't speak on that. I was a black coffee drinker when I was like 12.
Okay. So yeah.
All right.
12-year-olds were drinking black coffee.
No.
So yeah, that's my second favorite scene, and that scene includes. I'm gonna include that scene with Johnny Depp getting sucked into the bed and the water fountain, the upside down water fountain of blood.
God, that was so cool.
It was incredible.
That was so cool.
It was incredible.
It made no sense with the previous part of the movie.
Doesn't matter.
And I didn't give a shit.
So fucking cool.
Yeah.
Man, if you were in theaters in 1984 and you saw that shit, you would lose your mind. You would be like, what? 21 Jump Street's dying? Whoa! Like, oh, that was so damn cool. All the props to that.
And I didn't notice this when I was watching the movie, only when I was going over my trivia. There were 2 omens in the room when Johnny Depp died, showcasing that he was about to get got.
Oh, shit.
There was a stuffed vulture doll just behind his bed that looks down on him. impending his fate since vultures are known to feast on dead animals.
Mm-hmm.
And as he's lying in bed listening to his radio when he's falling asleep, the broadcaster announces it's midnight and you listen to station KRGB, which is Kruger without the vowels.
I like that.
Yeah. And everybody on this pod knows that I'm a big fan of foreshadowing.
Yep.
Just a little bit.
Just a tad. Mitch, you going with your second favorite scene? 'Cause that's all I got on that one.
Second favorite scene has to be Tina's death. So she's getting dragged all over the room. She's bleeding all over the place. She's screaming. Rod's losing his mind. Glenn and Nancy are in the other room trying to figure out what's going on. Nancy's banging on the door. Rod's losing his mind, and she's all over the place. And that was genuine, like, oh, man. Like, for the first time in the movie, you're scared. And like BJ said earlier, that's the most afraid that you get throughout the entire movie. And even then, as she's flailing and getting dragged around the room on the ceiling and whatnot, she kicks Rod right in the face.
Yeah.
And in the middle of being terrified because, oh, man, she's getting gutted. Like, this is horrible. I start laughing because she kicks Rod right in the face. And I mean, like, I'm a wrestling guy. So I look at that and go, that didn't look fake. She drilled him, man. And she just drops him. And he's, you know, trying to recover and figure out what the hell's going on. I just got super laid and it was amazing. And to borrow a line from what I heard earlier, it was like the fuck of the century. And here I am trying to figure out what's going on. And my girlfriend's getting filleted right in front of me. That scene in and of itself was kind of a masterpiece because you have Rod who knows immediately he has to avoid blame because he's a dude. He has a switchblade. She already called him crazy. So, I mean, there's layers to that onion.
They've already been fighting.
Right. So there's layers to that onion that you immediately have to navigate from the male perspective. And from the female perspective, she's getting filleted. So, I mean, that's horrible. Nancy's banging on the door. Like, there's so much tension in that scene. If you could just take that level of fear and spread it throughout the movie, man, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Because
this movie would be a great movie.
I was genuinely on the edge of my seat, intense. Holy shit, when that was going down.
So you think this scene is where Shawn Michaels got the idea for Sweet Chin Music?
I mean, I wish, but I think Sweet Chin Music might come around at the same time, give or take. You know, I mean, if you know your Shawn Michaels, you know your Heartbreak Kid. He's been around for a hot minute.
Yeah.
He's been around for a hot minute.
Yeah.
Beautiful bastard.
Beautiful, beautiful bastard. The Heartbreak Kid. I know I'm sexy.
I think I'm cute. I know I'm sexy.
Hell yeah.
When I heard an interview that he'd never made love to that song, I was disappointed.
Oh!
That's the first time Mitchell's heard that.
My second favorite scene is Nancy falling asleep in school. The boiler room, the burn, the kind of, okay, so I can't fall asleep.
Yeah.
If I fall asleep, I'm going to fucking die.
Because that was the second scariest scene out of the movie.
Sure.
And like Mitchell talked about earlier, like, especially for people that have vivid dreams, like, that scene was probably intense for those people. Anything else to say about that, or did I already hit it?
It's great.
Yeah. My first favorite scene is Mitchell's second favorite scene. Tina dying. It was incredible. Her running away from Freddy. At that point, that's when I realized it was a dream. But up to that point, that was the longest time it took for me to realize it was a dream.
Well, I guess it was the second time that happened.
Yeah, it was the second time that happened. But that was the longest time it took me to realize it was a dream. What they did to make his arms really long in the alleyway was they had two different people on each side of him with fishing poles holding up his arms as he walked. Yeah. Yeah.
God, Wes Craven's a fucking genius.
No kidding.
Love that.
Oh, can you imagine what 22-year-old Wes Craven could do with TikTok today?
Oh my God.
Man, can we start cloning people yet?
Right? Like, let's fucking do it, please.
Because some of those old guys with the new shit, man, the stuff they pull off. Mm-hmm.
Mitchell, your number one favorite scene?
I got to take it back to my actual first time with any part of this movie. Because Glenn's death, when he gets folded in half and sucked through the mattress, was the first part of any Freddy Krueger movie that I ever saw. And I remember that particular scene from when I was about 9 or 10 years old. It was October, and I was watching I Love the 80s because they had this whole Halloween special going on.
VH1?
Yeah, on VH1, MTV, one of those. But yeah, I think it was VH1. And I came around the corner, and I see Johnny Depp, and I'm going, oh, yeah, it's Johnny Depp. And then he gets folded in half, and blood starts shooting out of the mattress, and I'm like losing my shit because I'm like 9 or 10 years old trying to figure out what's going on. And even today, going into that scene, knowing the way the special effects work because I've taken cinematography classes and knowing the way that it was developed, seeing it in context with the rest of the film was absolutely amazing. Never mind the fact that he pretty much only dies because his parents are fucking idiots and they don't listen to his girlfriend / friend. The way that he dies, the way that they use those special effects, the way that they spin that room, and the fact that that was most of the 500 gallons of blood, I was still impressed, even to this day. So, I mean, I got to give that number one. Glenn's death scene is number one for me, for sure.
Mine is Nancy's death scene. You get the Wes Craven or not Nancy, sorry, Tina.
Yeah.
Tina's death scene. You get the Wes Craven special of, oh, we think this person's going to be the protagonist. Oh, no, she's dead 15 minutes into the movie. It is as frightening as the movie gets. At this moment watching it, I was like, I fully understand why this movie is a classic.
There you go.
And it never reaches that high or really anywhere close to that high again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a frightening death.
Yes.
It is. It's spooky as hell. It's the only time you're genuinely terrified throughout the whole movie.
It's the best time where the creepiness and slasherness works.
Yes.
Right. Notice there's no fucking synthesizer.
But yeah, that's my favorite scene just because, like I said, it's the scariest part of the horror movie. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. You don't know what Freddy is yet, so you still got those questions rolling around in your mind. And then you kind of figure it out, and you're like, oh, so he can't be defeated. Got it. Cool.
You're fucked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
So I didn't know where to fit this in on my trivia because it's such a long trivia. But this is the perfect segue to do this right at the end of our Mount Rushmore scenes. So bear with me, guys. It's a mouthful, but you're going to fucking love it.
Love it.
The wall-to-ceiling drag was accomplished with a rotating room created by mechanical special effects designer Jim Doyle in the essential making of documentary Never Sleep Again, The Elm Street Legacy. Doyle explains, Wes wanted something really big and fantastic and out there for the first death. So I suggested a rotating room. Craven described the room as a hairy situation with no wires, just vertigo and panic attack-inducing rotations with all items nailed down and the cameraman strapped into an airplane seat attached to the wall. The room itself was not mechanical. It took several crew members on the other side of the contraption to manually flip the room around. Even though it was a nightmare to shoot in, when it came time to film Glenn's death, the filmmakers went back to the rotating room. The pressure was on, not only because the blood effect was complicated, working with water always is, but because they had one take to do it. The room was flipped upside down and the crew prepared for the effect. A sheet-lined chute for the blood was carved out of the middle of the bed with crew members positioned above on the outside of the room, poised to pour in the gallons of blood-colored water. With the bed now positioned at the top of the room, Craven, strapped into a camera chair, gave the word go. As cinematographer Jacques Hecken explains in Never Sleep Again, when the crew began to dump the water through the hole, as soon as it hit the ceiling and hit the light, it immediately electrified the water. So the guy pouring the water got electrocuted. Or as Doyle puts it, oops. Not only was the water...
No, not oops. Fuck you if I'm the guy pouring the water down
God
there.
damn!
Not only was the water now electrified, but as Hatkin described, the water began to slosh from side to side, which threw off the weight of the room, causing it to shift and the operators to lose control. The room rolled all the way over, and crew members leapt out of the way as cables and ropes ripped out of their rigging. As Craven recounts in the documentary, the water went into all the lights, and there were these huge flashes in the dark. We were spinning in the dark with all these sparks going. The wall had a window in it, of course. The blood poured out onto the operators desperately trying to regain control of the room. The room finally stopped rocking once all the liquid poured out, leaving the crew still attached to the structure, suspended upside down for around 20 minutes in the dark, covered in blood. The up is down and vice versa rationals for the original geyser is easy enough to wrap your head around, but thanks to the series of unfortunate events, the blood didn't just pool on the ceiling. After the initial splash, the liquid slips and streams at angles that just don't make sense. It's alerts that divine's logic. Miraculously, no one was hurt, and even more miraculously, they got the shot. As detailed in the Larry Cohen biography, Larry Cohen, The Stuff, Gods, and Monsters, the cult director employed the Nightmare crew to pull off a rotating room stunt for The Stuff. Quote, I was lucky that nobody got hurt, Cohen explains. But the scene looks great. Such is the gamble of a manually operated room, it seems. The scene was partially inspired by the elevator scene in The Shining.
Of course it's The Shining.
So can you imagine the cameraman coming home from work that day and his wife's like, hey, honey, how was your day? You're not going to believe this shit. Dude, I was in a rotating room. There was 500 gallons of blood. There were fucking sparks. It was dark. I almost fucking died.
That fucker walked in and said, let me spin you a fucking yarn, baby.
Well, that's a great story.
Right? It was a mouthful, and I almost didn't want to put it on here, but there's no way I could leave that off of this trivia.
No, it's absolutely worth it, because if you didn't, I was going to, but way worse. So I'm glad you read it.
Awesome.
Yes.
So if that gives you a clue into how much trivia I have for this movie, let's keep going.
Fuck yeah.
This was, out of all the trivia that I read, this might have been the coolest, and it's not a special effects trivia. Wes Craven first came up with the basic idea for the movie from a series of articles in the Los Angeles Times over a 3-year period about a group of Southeast Asian refugees from the Hmong tribe. I'm sorry if I butchered that. Several of whom died in the throes of horrific nightmares. The group had come to the U.S. to escape the murderous reign of Pol Pot, and within a year of arriving, 3 men had died in all similar situations. The young, otherwise healthy men would have a nightmare, then refuse to sleep for as long as he could. When he finally fell asleep from exhaustion, he woke up screaming, then died. Autopsy results revealed that they had not died from heart failure, but had simply died. This inability to find a cause of death that intrigued Craven so much. Medical authorities have since called the phenomenon Asian death syndrome, a variant of sudden unexpected death syndrome and Brugada syndrome.
Yo, I might need to do a sleep study because I've torn an oblique and a quad in my sleep.
That's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
So this wasn't any like chemical warfare side effect?
No. They just died from having a nightmare.
Fuck.
Yeah. Fuck is right, BJ.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck all that.
The idea behind the glove was a practical one on Wes Craven's part, as he wanted to give the character a unique weapon, but also something that could be made cheaply and wouldn't be difficult to use or transport. At the time, he was studying primal fears embedded in the subconscious of people of all cultures, and discovered that one of those fears is being attacked by animal claws. Around the same time, he saw his cat unsheathe its claws, and the two concepts merged. Although in the original script, the blades were fishing knives, not steak knives, as in the finished film.
Okay, so I like that you bring that up, because the very first scene in the entire movie where Freddy's making the glove, where you see him, cutting out the knives and kind of like smelting them together, and he's doing the very blacksmithy work. It kind of feels steampunk in a sense, but at the same time, you see what he's building. And if you know anything about horror movies, by the time that glove's done, you're going, oh, damn, we just saw the origins of Freddy.
Yep. And it's funny because that was my next bit of trivia. The first time we see Freddy Krueger, he's not being played by Robert Englund, but by special effects man Charles Ballardini, who was the only one who knew exactly how to cut the glove and insert the blades.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So as a knife maker myself, because I've made one knife, I don't think soldering steel onto copper is going to hold all that well.
Sure. You're the knife maker.
I don't know. I've never tried it, but I can't imagine that's a super strong hold.
Copper's really soft and steel's really not.
Yeah.
So that's going to crack and break immediately.
Definitely.
No, you're dead on. Chemistry agrees.
The sparkling glove effect seen throughout the movie was achieved by attaching the glove to a car battery. The famous scraping noise was created by scratching a steak knife on the underside of a metal chair. And the knives in the gloves were not fishing or steak knives, as many believe, but actually tomato knives.
There's a tomato knife?
Yeah, in fact, the exact model was the Case XX P210.
I don't know what that means.
Neither do I, but
I would assume that they were like
you just asked me if there was tomato knives, and I gave you the model. So
Okay.
Don't be a douche.
All right. Sorry.
I just kind of assumed they were like steak knives or fishing knives.
Yeah,
or
they look
skinning
like
or-
filleting knives.
I was going to say filleting, yeah.
The original glove was later used in A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, and was also seen hanging on the wall of the work shed in Evil Dead 2. This was in response to the use of Evil Dead on the television screen in this film and part of a continued banter between directors Wes Craven and Sam Raimi. However, when Wes Craven loaned the gloves to A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, it got lost and is rumored to be in the possession of Robert Englund's agent to this day.
Well, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
How much you paying on the open auction for the Freddy Krueger glove?
Not as much as I'd pay for the burlap sack that Stallone wore in First Blood.
Jacob's just smelling it.
Smelling it and masturbating.
So has the prequel to Freddy Krueger never been made?
No.
Apparently not.
Hit me up, Hollywood.
Well, I guess the newest rendition of A Nightmare on Elm Street gives it more credence than any other.
Yeah, Hollywood, hit me
I
up.
haven't
I'll
seen
wrait
the
you a
newer
script.
ones. Have they covered that? Because
Yeah,
I mean, if they could,
they covered it and actually made him a child molester.
Ooh.
The original Freddy Krueger was a child molester, but there was a serial child molester in LA at the time, and Wes Craven didn't want to give that guy credence through the movie, so he made him just a child killer.
Okay.
So-
But the new movie, he's a child molester.
So he killed 20 people, 20 kids in a small town. Zodiac killed like 4 people in San Francisco.
Yep.
We would have known about Freddy Krueger.
Yes. Amanda Wise, who played Tina, was handing out candy at her mom's house on the Halloween following the film's release and was surprised to see so many trick-or-treaters dressed as Freddy. She eventually told one of them that she played Tina in the movie, but he didn't believe her. Thought that was cool. In the opening dream, Tina sees and hears lambs. This is a play on the phrase, like a lamb to the slaughter, originating from the Bible. It means an innocent, helpless creature that is unknowingly in danger. An apt description of Tina and her friends.
Silence of the Lambs.
Yep. This was already mentioned in one of my trivias already, but in this movie, Nancy is shown watching Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead. Craven decided to include the scene because Raimi had featured a poster of Craven's Hills Have Eyes in The Evil Dead. Raimi also showed Freddy Krueger's glove, like we said, in The Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. And later in Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Damn.
Yeah. I love when directors
Are
do
those
shit
guys
like that.
tight? Or Craven?
You know,
Obviously.
Jumping
Craven
back
is-
just a little bit, I just did a quick Google, and I'm kind of wondering if Craven avoided the molester angle because John Wayne Gacy was in his prime in the 60s and 70s.
I think so. And that might have been the one that I'm referring to.
Because I think John Wayne Gacy...
That was LA, right?
John Wayne Gacy was Chicago.
Oh, okay.
But John Wayne Gacy was the guy that dressed up as a clown and killed kids. Yeah. He was the big inspiration for it. But I would kind of wonder if John Wayne Gacy's reach as far as his influence was so far that even though you had this molester in LA at that time that he wanted to avoid, I think he might have also wanted to kind of subconsciously avoid even touching Gacy, because that would have been when Craven was a little bit younger and he would have known who John Wayne Gacy is.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that could have tied into it a little bit, you know?
Okay.
I could see that.
I see that. When Nancy is trying to bring Freddy to reality, she tells her dad to break the door down in 20 minutes. At that point, it's exactly 20 minutes before the movie ends.
Dang, that 20 minutes went by quick.
Okay,
Very
I
quick.
only noticed that because I was watching on Netflix, but that's funny.
Yeah. The original script, the movie ends happily. Nancy kills Krueger by ceasing to believe in him, then awakens to discover that everything that happened in the movie was an elongated nightmare. She then says goodbye to her mother and drives to school with her friends. However, Robert Shea wanted to twist the ending that would leave the way open for sequels. He suggested fooling the audience into thinking Krueger had been defeated, only to reveal that the final scene itself is actually a nightmare, and then end the film with Freddy driving the car away from the house and the kids screaming. Wes Craven hated this ending, and ultimately 4 endings were filmed. Craven's happy ending, Shea's Freddy ending, and 2 versions of a compromise ending Craven and Shea had reached, in which Nancy's mother is pulled back into the house, but the audience is left slightly ambiguous as to what is going on. Craven has always maintained that the film should have had the happy ending he originally wrote.
No.
Craven's wrong, and I have to say that loudly and clearly because the studio was fucked, everybody was fucked, and if they didn't have sequels, there would be no studio. So if New Line was going to go under without sequels and without the success of this movie, then they kind of had to do it that way. So major props to the guy that pushed for the ending that was actually finally filmed, edited, and created, because if Craven's ending was the one that landed, New Line would no longer exist.
Yeah.
No, that was the right ending.
Yeah.
The
was
ending
good.
of this movie was
That
the
was
right
the
ending.
that was the best part.
The scene where Freddy is set on fire and chases Nancy to the top of the stairs, falls back down and starts up again, was all shot in one take with several cameras and was the most elaborate fire scene ever filmed up to that time. Wow. Stuntman Anthony Criera won Best Stunt of the Year for the scene.
Didn't know that was an award.
I didn't either. I don't think it is anymore.
Yeah, it should be.
It should be
100%
because
should
movies
be.
are a lot crazier now than they used to.
Tom
be.
Cruise on the Burj Khalifa, that's got to get an award.
Yeah.
Anytime Jackie Chan broke a bone.
Right. According to Heather Langenkamp, Nancy, the melting staircase scene was shot using pancake mix. Wes Craven, however, said it was oatmeal and glue. The fact track on the DVD says it was biscuit pancake mix. The scene was directed by Robert Shea, who was on set pressuring for the film to wrap, and Craven told Shea he could direct it, as it was based on a dream Shea himself had once had. In another interview, Heather Langenkamp added that mushroom soup was also one of the ingredients in the staircase mixture. It's crazy what they fucking do with special effects back then with horror movies.
God, that's impressive.
Let's bring back the cheap movies. Let's make these guys get creative.
Hell yeah. I mean, with the rate that the economy's going, I don't need to go there.
So I just realized that I skipped our character breakdown segment, so I'm going to segue into that by my trivia about certain characters.
Okay.
Johnny Depp. Here's my Johnny Depp trivia. This was his film debut.
Oh, yeah.
First film for Johnny Depp. His second film was 6 years later with Edward Scissorhands.
Yep.
Wes Craven said that Johnny Depp wasn't very confident about his own performance and that the inexperienced actor needed some reassurance during filming.
Was anybody else looking for a turd in his bed while he was laying on it?
Damn.
Did that make up for my Michael Che joke?
Only the vulture. Only the vulture was looking for the turd. The vulture smelled something fucking wrong. It said, I don't know, man. You might not want to lay down there.
The reason Johnny Depp got this role is because Wes Craven's daughter thought Johnny Depp was dreamy. 21 Jump Street. Oh, yeah.
21 Jump Street.
But that's why he got this role.
Shout the fuck out.
Wes Craven's daughter. Thank you. Heather Langenkamp's final audition for the role of Nancy took place on Friday the 13th, January 1984.
83?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Because it came out in 84.
Mm.
Yep. Her boyfriend at the time of the shooting is credited for creating Freddy's nursery rhyme.
2 friends come for you.
3, 4, better lock your door.
Later, 50 Cent used that same rhyme for Into Club.
And you're a huge 50 Cent fan.
No.
Oh, hell yeah.
No, I'm not. But did anybody find the Bonnie Raitt streaks in her hair super hot?
Yeah, I did. Don't worry, she was 20.
Oh, I'm a big Bonnie Raitt fan. Bonnie Raitt is my Metallica. Not really, but I do love Bonnie
Yeah.
Raitt.
Kevin Costner's your Metallica. For the pod. Because we said that on Bull Durham.
Yeah.
Heather Mellencamp beat over 200 actresses for the role of Nancy Thompson, including Jennifer Grey, Demi Moore, Courtney Cox, Tracy Gold, and Claudia Wells.
Well, fuck them all because she nailed it.
Yeah.
What?
Really,
Did she have any success after this movie?
I don't remember seeing her after that, but I mean, if it made as much as it did, she probably didn't need it.
Yeah. She was good. She was really good.
She was really good. Genuinely. Even when she was yelling at her mom and shit.
Oh, yeah. She really killed it in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
In the scene where Nancy has been up for days and looks in the mirror saying, God, I look like I'm 20 years old, was an inside joke because she is 20 in this movie.
Yeah, I was offended by that.
I'm knocking on 30. It's okay.
We're both in our 30s. You'll get there soon.
Heyo.
The scene where Nancy is attacked by Freddy in her bathtub was shot using a bottomless tub, which is put in a bathroom set that had been built over a swimming pool. During the underwater sequence, Camp was replaced with stuntwoman Christina Johnson. Camp spent 12 hours in the bath during that scene.
Fuck, and that is such a good scene. Like, it's hard for that not to crack my top 4 because, I mean, they really scare the shit out of you. Like, you can't fall asleep in the bathtub, and, like, where are you going to fall asleep? Like, it's relaxing. Sometimes you have candles lit, like, there's bubbles and shit. Like, you know, that scene in and of itself is spooky as hell. If there's any scene that touches Tina's death at the beginning of the movie, it's that one. Because you have that scene where they come out of the fucking water and get your ass.
Freddy's fingers coming into the bathtub.
I think the only thing scarier than that is Pennywise coming out of the fucking drain in It.
Yeah.
But I mean, like,
when I first saw that movie,
those two,
when I first saw that movie,
100% of that. I want nothing to do with anything that can fuck with me when I'm in water.
Yep.
Because water's scary enough. You could drown. But, like, then you have to worry about ethereal forces making you drown? Fuck all that.
Yep.
Man, that was spooky.
When I first saw It, I couldn't shower with the bathroom door closed for months.
Dude,
I saw It when I was like 9 or 10.
Well,
I never, and I mean fucking never, used a public shower. Not fucking one time. And if somebody walked in, I'm the fuck out. Because I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, the thing with water is whatever you're going against, that's got the home field advantage.
Yep.
We are not fast in water. We cannot punch in water.
Nope.
You can drown in 2 inches of water?
Last I checked, hold on, wait a second. I'm not a fucking dolphin. I'm going to die.
I'll end it with Robert Englund. It took 3 hours for him to get into his Freddy Krueger makeup.
Well, good thing he was only in the movie for 7 minutes.
How did you know that?
That was a guess.
It's exactly 7 minutes of screen time.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Great fucking guess.
Good.
Knuckles.
Freddy Krueger is the 14th greatest villain of all time, according to the British television channel Sky 2. No, I'm sorry. Wizard Magazine rated Freddy Krueger 14th greatest villain of all time. The British television channel Sky 2 listed him as 8th, and the American Film Institute ranked him 40th on 100 heroes and villains list. 40 seems more respectable for Freddy Krueger.
I would say 40, yeah, because he's like in the top half, but I mean, like, he's not Vader.
No. He's
And
not Michael Myers.
No.
He's definitely not Pennywise. Pennywise has to be like top 5 all time for me.
He's not Hans Gruber.
No. In various interviews, Robert Englund stated that Freddy's walk and mannerisms were inspired by his costume and looking at himself in the mirror. When he put on the fedora, he thought of old gangster movies and decided to give Freddy a swagger akin to famous gangster movie actor James Carnegie. Because the full glove with real metal knives, as opposed to the stunt glove with fake knives for safety, was so heavy, he found himself unintentionally dropping his right shoulder due to the weight. So he equated the stance with a gunslinger who has his pistol and holster on his hip. As for the unusual way Freddy walks, he studied his posture and derived the sideways movement from a surfer standing sideways on a surfboard.
Okay, funny you say that, because I was kind of wondering why he looked like he was skating, because I used to skateboard, and, you know, I'm like, he kind of stands like he's on a board, so it's funny you say that. I like that. Makes a lot of sense.
So
Makes
yeah, that
it more awkward and off kilter. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's all my trivia. It was a fuck ton. But I feel like we got it through it quickly.
Hell yeah.
We had a lot to say about it.
Yeah, I imagined. When you have a movie,
It's not a great movie, but it's a cool fucking movie.
Yeah.
This is probably one of those, the documentary about the movie is better than the movie.
Yeah. I can see that.
I love the 80s on VH1.
Oh, we miss VH1 and old school MTV.
Hell yeah.
BJ, sorry I took character breakdown away from you.
No, that's fine. I think this movie's got to start with the main protagonist, Nancy, right?
Yeah.
Who's great. Loved her Bonnie Raitt hair, whatever you call that.
I call it Jean Grey.
Okay.
X-Men, baby.
All right.
But yeah, her acting was phenomenal in this movie. For a 20-year-old to act as well as she did. I mean, I say for a 20-year-old. There's 20-year-olds doing it all the time, but she fucking killed it.
Well, now, not then, because now you can watch shit and then imitate it. Then you just had to do it.
Like, well, and now you're taking acting classes at 9 years old.
Thanks.
Yeah. But she was amazing.
Yeah.
Loved her.
Yeah.
As much as the parents seemed like they were in a different movie, I loved her interactions with her parents. Just her complete annoyance with both of them. And one of them's a fucking cop. It's just like, dude, come on.
There was one interaction that really got on my fucking nerves, and it was when her mom was drinking and trying to tell her that she needs to get some rest. And then she just knocks the bottle out of her hands and breaks it on the floor. And I'm like, that's not going to cut anybody. Like, a broken fucking bottle isn't going to cut anybody's feet. Nobody's going to get, okay. Like, that was one particular moment. And I know it's a really weird reason to break suspension of disbelief, but I don't know if you've thrown a liquor bottle on the ground, but the fucker explodes. Like, it's not like a kind of shattering of glass.
No, it's not.
Liquor bottles are not thin, soft glass.
No.
They are
and
thick.
No, and not even in 1984, because they probably just used more glass back then.
Yeah.
So they probably used leaded gas back then.
That's what I'm fucking saying, dude. So, I mean, I don't understand how you could have that big of a conflict and have no result. Because the whole time I'm watching it, I'm going, okay, so who's going to step on the glass and cut their fucking foot? Who's going to step on the glass and cut their foot and, like, bleed out on the floor? Because alcohol is also a blood thinner. So, like, there's layers to the onion that my medical chemistry brain is, like, trying to navigate. And I'm going, nah, it's just, they're just going to ignore that. They're just going to ignore that. Okay, that's cool. We can just ignore that. But her interactions with her parents, while they were okay, with her mom in particular, I was kind of going, eh.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just my own lens, and maybe that's my own lens from, like, you know, other shit going on. But
I just liked her annoyance with her mom.
Her acting was phenomenal.
Yeah. I hated the parents. I liked Nancy's interactions with the parents.
Fair.
When her mom told her the truth of Freddy Krueger, I was like, you guys who all fucking got in to kill Freddy Krueger didn't have a conversation? Why are our kids dying under mysterious circumstances?
Yeah, I'm fucking saying, dude. Like, that was that whole scene where she does the big reveal was close to my top 4. I mean, it was like number 5, number 6, and even now it still is, because I'm like, wow, that was like a big explanation. That was like a whole plot device MacGuffin. But I mean, no more than when Glenn's telling her, you know, these people, they do these dream studies, and they do these, you know, these dream abilities, and they learn how to do shit in their dreams. I'm like, are you new? Are you new? Like, come on.
You guys got anything to say about Johnny Depp in this movie?
A lot.
Go for it. Start.
Man, his acting, pretty solid, but you can tell that he was a little bit wooden. You can tell that there was confidence issues going into it. I don't know if he was in 21 Jump Street at that time, because it was 1984. I assume he was. I assume this wasn't his entire introduction to acting, but you could tell that he was a little bit wooden. He probably needed some direction and some, I don't know, confidence boosts along the way. Glenn's character as a whole was really solid. I wish that the dude that played Rod had played Glenn, and I wish that Johnny Depp had played Rod. Because the dude that played Rod really gave a shit and like committed himself to the role like wholeheartedly. Like he absolutely nailed every line that he had. He only had like 12, but BJ and I both agree Rod should have been more featured in this movie.
And Rod was a good enough actor and attractive enough that he could have played Glenn.
Bingo. Whereas if you had Johnny Depp in Rod's role, yes, he's a little bit smaller, but put him in a fucking leather jacket. Anybody in a leather jacket looks huge.
Yeah.
I can attest to that. I used to wear a leather jacket. So, like, it is what it is. I wish that Johnny had been a little bit more confident in his delivery because he seemed, a little bit like this, a little bit like that, a little bit like this, a little bit like that. And maybe that's just the way that Johnny is because even in the modern movies, he's the same way. But he could have put a little more oomph on his character. And the guy that played Rod put all of the oomph on every single line. And if I didn't know who Johnny Depp was in modern context, I would want to go, who the fuck played Rod?
Oh, yeah. At the time this movie came out, if you're like, which one's going to become the superstar? I think we all would have been like, oh, Rod.
Yeah.
Depp felt a little bit like he was just cashing a check. Now, I know the movie didn't have a huge budget. I'm sure he didn't get a huge portion of it.
Well,
but it felt like a cash in a check performance.
Yeah, and yeah, it's the confidence because like that's clearly not what it was. I mean, it was his film debut.
Like that's what it is. It's just confidence. But
okay.
Like if he's not confident, give him a smaller role.
Yep.
But like, is he beautiful? I can't fucking deny that. He's beautiful. Like, damn. But like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
I think Mitchell killed it on the Glenn Johnny Depp role. So we'll move right into Freddy Krueger, Robert Englund.
I'm very torn on this performance.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's England. I don't think it's England's fault. He's in the movie for 7 minutes. He's the boogeyman, right?
Yeah. And he plays it well with what he was given. But you're right. It's just like it should have been better.
Which is why I'm shocked why he's so high on some of those movie villain lists because, I don't know, I was never that afraid, worried, scared of him.
The scariest that Freddy gets is when you're asleep and he shows up in your nightmare. And that's why he's so high on those lists, because you have all these impressionable people who haven't really dreamed deeply until they see this movie, and then it inspires them to dream deeper. And he comes after them in their own dream. Well, and that's why he shows up on those lists. It's not because he's actually good in the movie. It's because the idea of somebody that can come after you while you're asleep is goddamn terrifying.
And I'm gonna second that because I watched this movie 2 nights ago with Nema, and she hasn't had a dream about Freddy Krueger or anything like that. But the last 2 nights, she has woken up from nightmares. And she hasn't been dreaming probably for a good month and a half before that. And she has vivid dreams like you do. I don't know if it's quite the same extent. She has a difficult time relaying that kind of stuff after she wakes up. But nonetheless, she had gone probably 2 months without a nightmare.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I watched this 2 days ago, and she's woken up the last 2 mornings from nightmares. And I think you're right. That's why he makes this list, because now you're more susceptible to nightmares because now it's in your head.
Yep.
Man, like 2 days ago, I had a nightmare that they overturned Roe v. Wade.
What the fuck?
It wasn't a nightmare.
Shit, that was real, bro.
What?
Yeah. God damn.
There is no such thing as freedom. We've already hit on Nancy's parents. We've already hit on Rob. The last person to hit is Tina.
I was shocked when Tina died.
Good death. Quality death.
It's hard to say. She's in this movie very little.
Yeah.
I mean, the acting's pretty solid. I thought that she was the main character, and then she very suddenly was not.
Yeah.
So I mean, and you know what? She can throw a mean fucking kick.
And
Mean kick.
she has the best death scene.
Definitely. Well, Glenn's is pretty good, even though he's barely in it. He just kind of gets sucked in and then blown up. That's more on the special effects than the actual death. So yeah, no, I can agree with you.
Tina's got a good horror movie scream too.
Because she actually has to scream and she actually has to act.
Because Glenn's death didn't scare me. Tina's did.
That's fair.
So yeah, Tina was great for the 15 minutes she was in this movie.
Fooled me, and then I was like, oh, that's right. It's a Wes Craven movie. He pulled the Wes Craven special. Why did I not see that coming? But I didn't.
Fair.
So now it's our movie impersonation time. BJ, what do we have on the docket today?
We're going to do our Freddy Krueger impersonation.
Okay. You've actually been really good in the last couple ones. You're notoriously horrible at impersonations.
Yeah.
But you've been killing it the last couple. So why don't you start us off?
So I'm gonna kind of do these for you because he's not Freddy Krueger in this movie. He's Fred.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna deliver a couple of 1980s action style one-liners for you as Freddy Krueger.
Okay.
Are you ready for Fred? You get it instead of bed, Fred?
No, yeah.
Okay. If I catch you sleeping, you'll wind up Fred.
Oh my God, you weren't kidding with your one-liners, were you?
I was not.
You got another one?
Look at my hand. Freddy got fingered. That's it. That's all I have.
It's set on fire. What the fuck?
Oh. I've got one more specifically for you, Jacob.
Okay.
That's what she Fred.
Oh my God.
That's it. I'm out.
The comeback kid over here with impersonations.
Nice.
Whoa.
Quality.
Mitchell, we normally let the guests go last, but I kind of want you to go next.
Oh, that means his is really good.
No, it doesn't. Mine's pretty shitty. I don't even know what I'm going to do yet.
Man. I mean, with Fred and Freddy being separate characters, it's kind of hard because with Fred, it's just, I'm gonna get you. But with Freddy, there's a whole other dimension of like interdimensional bullshit going on. So I don't really know where I would go with this. I mean, it's just kind of the standard boogeyman kind of thing that he does throughout the entire movie. He was, in my opinion, my least favorite character. And even though he makes all these top villain lists, I was not scared of him at all for any amount of the film. Even with Tina's death being as scary as it was, I was more scared of what the fuck is coming after Tina than Freddy himself. So I'm going to pass this on to Jake.
Man, that was lame.
Even for him being the 40th ranked villain, he's got to get better.
He really
in the
does.
other movies, right?
Yeah.
Like, surely the sequels are better than this one, because this one by itself, I'm kind of going, I'm more terrified of Darth Vader than you right now.
Oh, 100%.
Like, all I have to hear is, and I am fucking wide awake. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but I gotta get up right now. And Freddy, I hear, and I'm like, okay, cool. What do I have to conjure up? A fucking Wampa? Come on, man.
He sounds like Fat Albert with a cold.
He really does, though. Like, it's... Freddy's gonna get you. Like, dude, just fucking hawk up your loogie and get over it, bro. I know you got set on fire, but, like, move on. So, Jake, all you.
Oh, man. Like I said, it's gonna be bad.
Do it.
Ooh, my name's Fred, and if you don't get away from me, I'm gonna finger blast you with my blades. Finger blast, finger blast, finger blast.
You really took the child molester angle on that impression.
Yeah, you did. All right, John Wayne Gacy. Holy shit.
Yeah, I can only think of finger blasting.
I mean, fair enough.
Yeah. So, final thoughts on the movie in general. BJ, you start.
To me, I landed this movie at a 6.2. There's some interesting things about it, but at the end of the day, it's not great. There's a ton of better horror movies, even ones made before this. It's kind of eh. So I landed at about a 6.2. You can see some really good things in there. You can really tell that Wes Craven is good. The kids are great actors, but overall, 6.2. It's just kind of a little better than okay.
Okay. Mitchell.
For me, I got to give it a 6.9 because I can't quite. Thank you.
69, baby.
I can't quite give it a 7 because at 7 is like a whole other tier of films. Whereas, if you give it a 6, you can build up from there. And while it went on to inspire an entire genre of horror, and it gave people nightmares for decades, I can't discount the cheapness of how Freddy felt as a villain, or Fred rather, because the versions of Freddy that would show up later on are so much scarier than what we got in the first iteration that I can't really give it that much of a 7 as far as a fear factor is concerned. I found myself laughing more than I did being afraid and on the edge of my seat. And as far as the acting concerned, the kids were better than the adults, which isn't really surprising in modern context. But at the same time, if you're going to spend your money accordingly, maybe get better actors to play the parents because, yeah, like BJ said earlier and like Jake said too, Nancy's folks did not seem like they were in the same movie as Nancy and Tina and Glenn and Rod. Those four, Nancy, Tina, Glenn, and Rod, really carried the film. And despite the fact that Rod only had like 12 lines, dude was awesome. So, yeah, 6.9.
So originally I had this movie at a 7.2, a whole point higher than BJ. But you've convinced me because 7 is a whole nother tier of a movie. So I'm going to go with 6.9 as well.
Nice.
Yeah. Because, you're so right. 7's another tier.
Yeah.
But I can't give it a low 6 because you have all those awesome special effects. You have everything that came after this movie that was inspired by it. So I got to give it a 6.9.
Nice.
For the same reasons that you just stated.
Fair.
We're all in the same ballpark then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you guys think they should remake this movie?
Yeah. I think it'd be cooler now.
I think you'd have to change the plot a little bit.
Yeah.
I think you don't remake it unless you do the same thing they did with It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. If you remade it, but you had the parents going after Freddy when he was just a janitor killing children, you make that part 1.
I think that's a far more interesting movie.
And then you have part 2, which is this. So if you remake it, you don't remake this as the part 1. You remake this as the part 2. You hype it up with the first one, which is, you just call it something like Fred. Or
It's not Nightmare on Elm Street.
Krueger.
It's just Elm Street.
Right. Or just Elm Street. That's fine.
Yeah.
You just call it Elm Street. And you have, just Elm Street kind of gives me a little bit of like goosebumps, which is how good this movie is. And you put it in that category of, you have the prequel and then the sequel, which is really the remake of the original. And if you go that route, I think you have the most success.
I'm gonna agree with that. I think that's an incredible movie.
That's a good idea. That's a great idea.
Yeah. I don't really know who they would recast in this movie right now.
It's hard when you're talking about casting 15-year-olds.
Yeah, I don't know modern actors. I mean, outside of like the whole cast of Stranger Things, I have no idea.
And I guess you would have to use the Stranger Things kid to make this movie.
I mean,
Which one? Just all of them?
I meant kids.
You could just grab the kids that were in It, but some of those were the same kids from Stranger Things. So, like, what are you going to do?
Yep.
Johnny Depp will play someone's dad. He already did his 21 Jump Street.
Oh, man, Johnny Depp would be a fun dad or a fun cop.
Yeah.
Cop would be ironic as fuck.
There we go.
Johnny Depp is Nancy's dad?
Yeah.
Yeah!
Yeah.
Only he has to die in the sequel.
Sure,
course.
in the same way.
For sure.
Yes. 100% in the same way.
No, he gets, like, sucked into the bone, like, through a dispatch line or some bullshit.
However he gets sucked in, there's still a fountain of blood.
There's got to be something.
Maybe he steps on a bee.
We've already touched this numerous times throughout the pod. What should they do to make this movie better?
Honestly, I think if this movie doubled the campiness, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Fair. I can see that.
You either got to double the campiness or actually make it scary.
Sure.
Swap Johnny and whoever the dude that played Rod.
Yep.
Swap those
that'll
two
work.
because one of them was a better actor than the other as far as cinema is concerned. And the other one was a better actor as far as TV is concerned, which is Johnny at the time because he was used to, TV.
Maybe having the parents have some conversations and, is this Fred's revenge on what we did to him? That sort of thing. Add that a little bit to the mystery of
That would've
Krueger
been
as
cool.
well.
Yeah. Giving Freddy a little more backstory, giving him a little more clarification as to what he is and what his goals might be beyond, I'm going to kill kids. Because, I mean, with other characters, you have like, I'm going to kill kids because I have to eat their souls and stay alive, or I have to kill kids because if I don't, then I'll just fade away into nothingness. Whereas with Freddy, it's, I'm going to kill kids because I'm going to kill kids. Like, it doesn't, they got to flesh that out more. Make it scarier.
Establish some rules with Dream Freddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That needs to happen.
Because
In a
I still
bad
don't
way.
know.
Yeah.
We just talked about this movie for 2 hours. I still am not any more aware on what the fucking rules of Freddy
Nah.
Krueger are.
Yeah.
Nah, you just kind of have to worry if he's coming for you, and if not, then you're fine. But if so, then lock your door. But fuck it doesn't really help anything.
And it's
grab
okay.
your crucifix, that won't help either.
It's okay if there's no rules, but you can't pretend like there are rules. Like, there's no rules for Michael Myers. None.
No.
But they never insist on any rules.
No, they don't. And that's what makes it okay. And if they didn't insist on rules with Freddy Krueger, it would be okay that there's not rules. But there clearly is.
They just don't make any sense.
No.
Yeah.
I know there's some people on IMDb that both loved and hated this movie, and I'm excited to hear them.
Yeah, I have some good ones for you. And Mitchell, I really think you're going to like these.
Nice.
Yeah. So we always start with the good review because you have to end bad.
They're not as funny. The good reviews aren't near as funny.
No. Sometimes you get some real good gems, but for the most part. So this is a 10 out of 10. The title is a horror film literally designed to give you nightmares. By Bonner Jared 4.
Boner Jared 4.
By Boner Jared 4.
Boner Gerald Ford?
Gerald Ford's boner? Fuck yeah!
Guy's a big dick.
Good thing to have a president on the podcast.
A Nightmare on Elm Street is a great film with a wonderful agenda. It's a horror film that takes place in the realm of nightmares, which gives your imagination a lot to work with once you go to sleep after watching it. Robert Englund is terrifying as the cruel, sadistic Freddy Krueger. His costume design and makeup is unmatched by any of the other slasher icons, and he is matched perhaps only by Nosferatu's Count Olaf in terms of character design. This film really gets under your skin and gives you some serious nightmares. To this day, I have the occasional Freddy Krueger dream, and they vary in levels of scariness. But this is a real statement to the film's ability to get under your skin and really bother you. I consider this a must for anyone looking for a good scare.
Okay, homie, I need you to go watch The Right with Anthony Hopkins right fucking now, because you're gonna have some real nightmares at that point. Yeah, I gotta say, man, as good as that review is, I love, and I mean like, I love hockey. Jason Voorhees fucking bothers me. And all he is a goalie mask without eyes. Like, yes, Freddy's terrifying, but like, come on, man.
Leatherface is scarier too.
Yeah.
Fair.
This guy's not right in his review.
Yeah.
But that's okay. He fucking loved this movie. Doesn't matter.
Hell yeah. I'm just saying. Like,
So my first 1 out of 10 review, titled Big Spoiler, Not Epic, Very Sad, Gonna Cry Saddest Movie.
What?
what?
Yeah,
Is that the review or the title?
that's the title.
Title.
That is the title.
Sounds like a fucking squeaker if I've ever heard one. Jesus.
Guy needs a newspaper editor.
It's
Jesus.
by Carton Skywalker 22.
Man, pull your lightsaber out of your ass.
Thank you. But you're gonna love what he says, Mitch.
Nice.
So, a lot of this is in all caps, so I'm gonna yell. So, some big dumb writer decided to kill Johnny Depp. You don't kill the Depp man. The Depp man kills you. So, this movie actually 0 out of 10. But big dumb IMDb won't let you rate 0 out of 10. I rate IMDb negative 563.245 out of 10. Thank you. Sincerely, Cool Kid Gaming Reviews.
You don't kill the Depp man. The Depp man kills you. It's fucking Johnny Depp, not goddamn Arnold Schwarzenegger. What the fuck?
Hold on. Did Johnny Depp do a bunch of cocaine and go write this review? Was this coked out, Johnny? Like, holy shit, dude. Man, I love Star Wars and I love horror movies. And I gotta say, man, get fucked on both accounts. Oh.
Oh, that was a good review.
I do have a second bad review.
Okay.
Please.
I'm going to end it with an actual review.
Thank you.
1 out of 10. Titled, Yes, Absolutely, I Could Do Better.
Disagree.
Oh. All right,
By
yes.
Jesse Gringen 28. I have seen the golden hours light bathe shoppers in a grocery store. What wreath and given so freely, seemingly without consciousness. This movie is a piece of shit.
What a turn that was.
Damn.
It was like a Walt Whitman poem, followed by this movie shit.
I'm saying, dude.
Just like all the other ones. If you can love these movies, then by all means do so. Just don't do it around me, if you please. No. For me, I like my horror movies to be great. You know, like worth seeing. The fans of this movie and its are lucky people. This movie and its franchised horror movie Ken are able to give them something that I can never have. Whatever it is this movie gives me, it cannot match the time I lose seeing it. It is unequal, engaged, and I want back whatever it is I have lost.
You lost 90 minutes. Calm down.
Right? Like,
I mean, like, count the fucking seconds, dude. You've done worse things for less time.
Yeah.
yes.
And worse things for more time.
Yes.
It's called digging fucking fence post holes, man. Get over it.
And this movie doesn't deserve a 1 out of 10 just by sheer special effects.
No.
Sure.
No. Special effects give it a 4 or a 5 by itself.
Yep.
I mean, after that story about the dude getting electrocuted, special effects give it a 6. Holy shit, they had to make this movie. It was no longer a want to. The studio's going under. You're all fucked if you don't finish it. You had to make this movie. Or you don't get to eat and pay your bills. So, I mean, like, it's a 6 out of the gate.
So, would you guys recommend this movie?
Yes. for people that really love cinema for the special effects. I think they're better Freddy Krueger movies, and I haven't seen any of them. I'm just going to assume that they're better.
I would assume the same thing that you're saying. I would say if people love horror as a genre, they should see this movie. If people love special effects, they should see this movie. If people study things like cinematography and, I mean, really anything along that line, they should see this movie.
I also think this is a good movie for people that either don't love horror movies or don't watch them. Because it's not very scary.
It's not super scary at all.
So it's a really good dip your feet in the water horror movie.
It's a good cuddler. You know, they're going to get, like, snuggled up. You know, like, they're kind of scared, but they're not really scared, but they're kind of scared.
Yeah.
But you don't get those jump scares that are synonymous with the good cuddling movies.
Yeah, but then, like, after they go to bed, they're going to have nightmares, and they're going to fucking call you.
Ugh.
And, like, is that good or bad? You be the judge.
Night mode on your phone.
Ayo.
I'm very aroused.
My first time.
See, I think if you're looking for a old classic horror movie, there are just better ones out there. If you haven't seen The Shining, if you haven't seen Poltergeist, if you haven't seen The Exorcist, Halloween, Chainsaw Massacre,
Amity Friday the 13th.
I mean, even the original The Hills Have Eyes by Wes Craven.
I'd go Amityville.
Yeah.
The Thing.
Oh, man, The Thing is fucked up.
So if you've seen all those and you're still like, I want to watch a classic horror, then you should watch it. But there are a lot of other classic horror movies
That's fair.
you should see before this one.
You ran off a really good list there.
Yeah. So, by all intents and purposes, for our first time, wasn't great.
Pretty realistic.
Pretty realistic for first times. Yep.
Pretty good.
Like Mitchell's
that first
awkward elevator sex.
Yeah, and much like my first time, it peaked really early.
Yep.
Mine never did.
Mitchell, thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it.
It was a fucking riot, and you will be back on.
I'm stoked. I'll see y'all in the future.
Take the rest of your week to get on Netflix and watch a self-titled Rambo. Sylvester Stallone in this blood-fest, action-packed, amazing movie. Follow us on Instagram at IRMFTPod, Twitter at IRMFTP, and our Facebook group, IRMFT. And if none of those social media handles work out for you, email us at irmftpod@gmail.com. We'll see you next week for the blood fest that is Rambo.